See, and you were scared the people wouldn't show up.
No, I wasn't.
Look at them.
I wasn't scared. I just wasn't expecting it.
I knew you guys would show up. Welcome everyone.
Wow.
I am super excited to be here and to be here with you.
Thank you. Mutual.
As some of the people here in the audience might know, I've had a pretty busy week. I released a book and an expo, and I said the only reason that I will come here and like leave that behind is because I wanted to talk to you. I'm a huge fan, and I am so honored and proud that I get to have this conversation.
This is great. I love this. I like this. This is a great start.
Yeah, we're just gonna start with the praise and then get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, into the hard ones. Yeah.
Perhaps I think a lot of you here in the audience already know who this man is, but
Really?
I think so. But maybe you
Okay.
can tell them a little bit about yourself.
Okay, all right. Well, my name's Jordan Stevens. I'm from the UK. And in the UK, I'm best known as being half of a duo called Rizzle Kicks. We sold a bunch of records. We actually did do a show in Brussels once.
Yeah.
And then, I know I'm not in Brussels now, by the way.
No,
Yeah.
he knows.
Just
You're not American.
I'm not being that, yeah, exactly. Which they would do. They would do that. And then after, Rizzle Kicks, we've actually just been releasing music again recently, but we took a break, and in that break, I began to do some presenting and a little bit of acting, but most importantly, I was led towards writing, which is my first and truest love, and that resulted in me writing a book called Avoidance, Drugs, Heartbreak and Dogs, and now I'm in Belgium talking about it, which is amazing. So that's my CV in my head anyway.
It's amazing. I love the title of your book. When did that even come to you?
So that's actually a good question, because it wasn't always called that. So my book was at one point called The Wolf You Feed, which is based off of the saying that I return to throughout the book. So maybe I'll explain that saying.
Yes, do it.
So there's like there's a saying about two wolves. Do you guys know this saying about two wolves? Is there versions here? Okay. Yeah, kind of. Right, anyway. Like the short version is there's two wolves inside of us, and then one of the wolves likes, love and generosity and courage and whatever, and then the other wolf is envious and jealous and possessive, and then the one child is speaking to their grandparent about these wolves, and then he asks the grandparent which wolf wins, and then he says it's the one you feed, right? That's like the saying. I thought it was really cool and unique and alternative. Actually, especially in America, very common. It's like the equivalent of like live, laugh, love in America. And so as I was writing the book, I fortunately told a friend of mine who was American, and she was like, it's quite lame. It's actually quite lame. And then I did more research. On the saying and realized that not only is it lame, but it's not even Native American, which is what I thought it was. I thought
all the memes make it look like it's
it's
Native American saying. True.
No, it's not. It was I know it was. Apparently, it was coined by like a Christian preacher in. Yeah, I don't know.
Changes.
Right. So then I did more research and realized that the actual story is longer, and that is this makes up the arc of my book. The actual saying doesn't end with a discussion over feeding one particular wolf. It actually ends with the person realizing that both wolves have to be fed, because otherwise the other wolf will become hungry and find more menacing ways to get on top, right? So this is so that's me. I've summed up my book basically in about 2 seconds.
Well, there's more to discuss, but I am flabbergasted.
Yes.
I did not know this.
So when I was writing the book, it had this title, and my publisher said, you're going to have a subtitle because The Wolf You Feed is too
generic,
ambiguous, and I was just discovering that it was generic as well. And so they were like, it would have to be The Wolf You Feed, a story about masculinity, or you know what I mean? You'd have to have another little bit underneath it, which I hate. So I just said, okay, well, let me find a title that's so clear that I won't need to have a subtitle.
That's smart.
So I thought, what's in my book and what's my book about? an underlying theme of the book is the fact I have ADHD. It's
Yeah.
not about ADHD,
No.
but it obviously informs my view of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I just picked 4 words that, so avoidance, drugs, heartbreak, dogs, ADHD. That's why.
So there's a subtitle. Hey, this is smart, man. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things about the content of your book that I really love. But I was also, as a fellow writer, I was really struck by the style. So that's what I wanted to talk about first a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, because you write in the present tense, and
Yes.
it's like it's almost as if you invite people into your mind and how quick it switches, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit.
Yeah,
little bit
so
about that.
the style of the book is that, in fact, I can say the reason I wrote the book is because I went through this heartbreak, which the book is about, in 2017, and it was certainly at that point the most painful thing I'd ever experienced. That level of emotional pain I was totally unprepared for, and I remember at the time wishing that I had something culturally, whether that was a book or a show or a film, to help me through it. And listen, I'm sure there are loads, but I wasn't aware of any in my UK world, especially not heteronormative. So it's purely from the perspective of a straight man. Loads of incredible books written by women, loads of incredible books written by queer people in the culture who are writing about their perspective on queer love, which is incredible. And so I wanted something that was approaching it from that heteronormative perspective.
That is so interesting,
Yeah,
because usually that voice is almost overrepresented, but when it comes to this theme,
exactly, yes,
oh, wow,
yes. For us in the UK, that was the issue: was straight men would be occupying other forms of story, and I could only ever find an emotionally driven story if it was amongst something else. So like, it would be a man going through a divorce, but he's also solving a crime.
This makes so much sense.
Or like a man looking after his son whilst selling kilos of cocaine. do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there'd be really good stories, but it was just amidst these bigger stories. So I just wanted something that was just about heartbreak, because as I'm sure anyone here who's experienced it knows, or I guess everyone has, at the time, it is the most epic fucking feeling you could ever have.
True.
It feels completely overwhelming. So that's why I wanted to write the book. And I've made that decision quite early, that I wanted people to come with me through the heartbreak.
Yeah.
Because that was what I imagined I would have found comforting, because I tried to describe it in the most messy way possible. All the bits that I was kind of ashamed of and uncomfortable about, because that's the reality of heartbreak.
True. And was it like something that came naturally? That's because to me, just to explain why I asked that, I found, and I don't know why, but that writing in the present tense is harder than writing in the past tense.
Yeah. And
you did it in the present tense, like.
Yeah, I kind of relived the experience, because that's just what I wanted to do. Maybe I didn't even really think about it that much. I also didn't want to be too informed. It complicated it for me more if I was being reflective, because the whole point of me writing the book is because I've since learned a lot about myself, and I wouldn't make the same decisions. So it was hard for me to write my past decisions without applying my morality now.
Oh, I
do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If I'm the narrator now,
yes, then you would have already like understood more and explained, like, but I knew I was.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'd have to make constant reference to what I think about myself back then, now.
Yes.
But in truth, I'm not myself then, and the whole point of who I was then was that I was massively flawed. I made loads of mistakes, because my idea of love and commitment and gender and everything was something I believe I needed to have a look at, and I wanted people to be in that and be uncomfortable, that I thought that I was like that.
It really works. No, I don't know if is there. Did you guys already read the book, or are you going to read the book? There's no third option. So most of you are going to read the book. Okay.
Yeah.
So just because
But I can explain it. Yeah.
yeah, I felt the uncomfortableness at times, and I was like, there. Maybe it's also because my son kind of looks like you, but I felt like mom feelings, and I wanted to like be like Jordan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had that a few times.
You're frustrated. Oh, of course, the frustration. Of course, I felt like that. I felt like I had to rewrite it. I had to be like, fuck, why'd I do that shit, man? But yeah, I think it was that was the intention at the beginning of the book. To explain this, I do a disclaimer. I have maybe 1 or 2 pages at the very start. Explain that like you might feel uncomfortable reading this because I don't know. Like in that, I want you to realize how little I knew, and then hopefully feel like I know a little bit more by the end. And then also there is the reality that the writing style in itself is quite jarring because I don't like commas. I don't know if this is a thing. I find commas when reading really difficult because even if it's the most beautiful sentence in the world, and believe me, there are obviously an incredible amount of incredible books with great use of commas. But if there's 3 or 4 commas in one sentence, I'm in another world. Like I can't. For example, you know the book. Well, Oscar Wilde, A Picture of Dorian Gray. Yeah. Right. The book is like that big. Mm-hmm. I still haven't finished it. I started it because some of the things that they're saying are so profound, and there's no end to the sentence. So I'm just there thinking about what Oscar Wilde wants to say, and then anyway.
I understand.
So for me, in my book, there's loads of full stops. So it's like bam, 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 bam. And I use them at the wrong times. Like what you're not supposed to. I do it in the middle of a sentence. I do it like to do lists. I just don't care. I just use full stops because for me, it's like just keep me in the room. Like boom, boom. Like, and the feedback I've had is for people who don't read that often, they found it easier to read my book.
Probably.
Because it's so... Yeah. Immediate, but people who do read a lot a bit annoyed by my book. Like a little bit like on the the reviews, like I can't read this, is ridiculous, it's way too many full stops. Well, and I'm like, well, there you are.
No, the thing is, I'm one of those people that reads a lot of books, and not so long before I read yours, I was a juror in this literary
competition.
Yeah,
wow.
So I had to read a lot of books, and like after a certain amount, you kind of get annoyed at certain styles, right?
The style, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when I started yours, I thought, oh, this is gonna piss me off, but it didn't.
Yes.
It didn't. It works. It just feels like you're skipping through your
my brain. Mind. Yeah, I do. I think it's one you just have to adjust, and then once you're in, I think it's actually easier. Absolutely. To read. Yeah, I'm glad that you felt that way.
Well, and how did your editor feel?
Well, so this is actually a cool thing to say because I'm assuming there'll be people in the audience who are writing, want to write, whatever. How the book came about was in 2017 when I went through this heartbreak. It was the same time, and this is included in the book, by the way. It was the same time as the biggest version of Me Too, right? The wave of Me Too that led to Harvey Weinstein going to prison. Yeah. So at that time, certainly in the UK, I don't know about here, there were these conversations that I think were actually, especially now we see how toxic everything is, really healthy conversations, because even though there was the extremity of circumstance, people were talking on an interpersonal level, reviewing things like what's considered to be consent in the workplace, like old school style banter or whatever, was just being reviewed. So I was looking at a lot of these stories and people were sharing these stories, and I thought, man, like, yeah, I've definitely been that person. I've been that guy. I've for me, mostly it was not being able to show up in relationships. And by the way, and this is another explainer for the book. The principle of the book is I was in a relationship with my ex. I cheated on my ex. I betrayed my ex, and I told her, and then she left me. That's the beginning. And so what I do throughout the book is review, one, why I did it, Two, how I'm not going to do that again because I don't want to hurt another person like that again or hurt myself like that again. And then everything that comes in between that, you know. Truth gets looked at a lot. Like, was I right to tell the truth? A lot of people don't believe in that. How that affected me and other people afterwards, etc. So these were the questions I was asking myself. But I wrote this article at the time in 2017 when I was going through it for The Guardian newspaper, and it went crazy viral in 2017. It got shared like 50,000 times. It was insane. But I couldn't compute it because I was so sad. So I shouldn't laugh. I can laugh in hindsight.
In hindsight, it's 2020.
Because I was getting all of these text messages. Oh, you should do a film, you should do a documentary, you should write a book, you should do whatever. And I was literally in my uncle's car park just crying every day. Anyway, so for ages I was asked to write a book because I'd said these things about masculinity and how confusing it is and how much we as men need to show up for other men in our community. And I couldn't for ages. And then one day I was like, okay, maybe I should just tell the story of this heartbreak. And I'm just going to write it down exactly as I think it, and I'll send it to my agent, and then she can help me edit it and abide by the rules. Yeah. And I need to shout out my agent. She's called Zoe Ross, and I sent it to her, and she read it, and she went, "Great." And I went, "What do you mean? Like, what are we gonna? When's the second draft?" She goes, "No, this is good." I'm like, what? I can write like this with the full stops and the. And she was like, "I think it's cool." When she said to me, and this is what I mean about future writers, when she said to me, "I think it's cool," this door just opened. I did not know I could not abide by the rules. I didn't know that I could change the rules of grammar. So before I'd even got a book deal, I was writing the book. Because she went, "You could do this." I went, "Ah." I was like, if I can write like that, then we're cool. My issue is I thought I had to write like something else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that is my recommendation early. Anybody who's considering it, like, don't think of how you should write. Just think about how it's easiest for you to write.
Cool.
Because I think, especially nowadays with AI and stuff, we need to be really switching the game up.
That's true.
We need to be using all types.
They're coming for us.
We need to be using symbols and emojis and shit. Maybe not emojis, sorry.
No. But that's interesting because I thought at the end of it, like, wow, he must have really worked hard on, like, maintaining that style. But that's just how it came to you naturally.
Well, the editor, so I had editors, and then you have these, like, literally an editor for grammar.
Yeah.
And so we had to have a private conversation. And she was like, you do realize that there should be a lot more commas in this book? And I'm like, I do realize that. And I refute it. I rebuke the commas. I don't want them.
No.
And she went, "Okay, cool. We'll break bread." And she maybe gave me like 4 extra commas, and then we called it quits.
Okay, that's good. And shout out to your agent.
She was cool. They were cool about it, man. They wanted to. I mean, I guess, I think it made me feel very happy, and I think they could see that. They don't want to make somebody push someone into something that they're not comfortable with.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that, the content a bit more, and let's get into the way you approach masculinity and the way you write about it and talk about it. As I said, I thought about my son a lot when I was reading your book, and I just learned that you also go and talk to kids sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. More recently I've been asked to speak to or like facilitate sessions with boys. Yeah.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about how that goes, and like just what is the message that you're wanting to be out there for those boys?
But, well, again, a lot of my research is in the UK.
Yeah.
But I guess what happened with that was, by the time I'd finished writing the book, it was like 2022, I think. Yeah. And, 2. And I was like, okay, this book is about me becoming a man. So let me do some research on boys and men so that if I'm interviewed,
I'll have an answer.
Yeah, I'll be prepared to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then when I started doing more research on boys and men, I was like, oh shit. Like, there was more. I had maybe underestimated how much things were changing for the lives of boys and men, because I've always been closer, I think, to the feminist conversation than I have to the. Obviously, the boys and men are involved in that conversation, but often, if we're being honest, as a problem.
Yes.
And I hadn't just looked at the things that were shifting for boys and men and were a problem specifically in their world. And so then I just suddenly had this emboldened desire to... Oh, sorry, I missed another important point. As I did this research, Andrew Tate became like the most famous person on the planet.
Oh.
So
yeah.
I was suddenly promoting a book about emotions and heartbreak and wanting to be connected to the world around me at the same time as this kind of like Voldemort-esque figure was telling...
That's such a good description.
Was telling young boys that like all they need to do to aspire is to like scam people and then get a nice car, you know?
That's basically it.
So, but he was drawing them in with, you know, go to the gym.
Yeah.
I don't know what other shit he says that people think is okay, but like, you know, he has like really easy things to come. I mean, most scammers on the internet start small, and then they gradually radicalize you.
His shtick is that, you know, you have to be like an alpha male.
Yeah.
And
but I get a bit talking just about him because
let's not.
he's like there are people like he occupied a position that was always going to be there. It might not have been him. There were variations of that type of man there before. Yeah. But the point I'm making is I was doing this research and talking openly at a point where there was then a demand for men to speak out about different ways of being a guy. Yeah. So now I feel this bizarre duty, which I hadn't felt before, where even if I don't really want to, like, I just want to be another version of being a man. I don't think that my way is gospel. And especially with people who have leaned into figures like Andrew Tate, like, I'm not here to point fingers and say, I mean, I'm very, very, very clear about where I stand. Yes. And if anyone asks my opinion, I'll be very clear. But I just want to be, like, I chose connection. That's what I chose to prioritize in my life. To myself, to my partner, to my friends, to the world around me. And my life has improved immensely. I want to be able to be there saying that so that young men and boys can see that and think there's another option. It doesn't just have to be disconnection and then material elevation, which is the story we've been sold by capitalism for hundreds of years. And I don't think it serves men. I really, really passionately don't think it serves men, boys, women, girls, anyone. And arguably, that's a more beneficial thing for me to do than just kind of, I don't know, from a feminist perspective. It's probably more beneficial for me to just create male community and focus on what we can do to make ourselves feel better than it would be for me to just be like, yeah, these guys are bad or that.
Yeah,
do you know,
like
do you know
don't
what I
be
mean?
sexist or like.
Like there's a lot about feminism that I adore, and and a lot of it is to do with community. Yeah. And critique and self-evaluation, and I love the fact there's different waves, and those waves argue with each other about things, and
they do, and
they reflect generational shifts and changes. Like, we don't have that. We're really, really limited with books about like sexual maturity, relationships, heartbreak, fatherhood. We don't, for some reason, we just, I mean, we read less for a start, but and I do see it changing. I have a very positive view about the future of men, even though it feels like everything's burning. I have a positive view. So yeah, I'm just trying to like push into that space and just lead by example. That's
beautiful. And how are you received, like when you have those conversations? Because
it's funny actually you say that. I find myself being like so mostly well, of course. I think naturally, a guy standing there going, you know, I really love my girlfriend and I hope she does really well. A lot of women are like, yeah, you know, that's good.
That's the low-hanging fruit.
And my girlfriend is incredibly successful, by the way. My girlfriend is like a superstar. She's a musician. She's called Jade, and she is like next level. Okay. And on a lot of podcasts, people will say to me, like, "How is that? Knowing that your girlfriend earns more money than you it took me a while to realize that was like a radical stance to take, because from my perspective, it's very relaxing. I'm like, this is great. I don't need to, you know what I mean? She's totally independent. Like, she's cool. She's chill. I can just focus on me, you know? And previously I've provided for people I'm with, which is fine. But for me, I just feel relaxed. Like, no,
but
it's
still a thing. Like, I can relate to that. Like, my husband was a stay-at-home dad for a few years, so I could do my thing. Yeah. And it's so strange how people always thought that was
Yeah, it's like radical. Yeah, I don't know. So
Yeah.
I'd get that support from women more, and then there are a growing number of men who message me privately. They don't really engage so much, oddly, like publicly on comments and stuff. But they message me.
Yeah, that's good. That's so good.
And then I get pushback, and for the sake of fun, because we like to hear about conflict, but most of my issue I get with people are either particularly angry women who I think don't want to hear about like any, like sometimes I'll talk about the plight or the struggles of a boy or man, and they just don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Which I understand, but like
Yes.
I'll get sometimes I'll get like aggression because of it. And then the one that bugs me the most is guys find what I'm saying annoying, even though I'm trying to help them. So I remember like I was asked on a podcast like the things in life that mean the most to me, and the things that mean the most to me, having got to a point where I'm not worried about money, which is everyone's main concern, and I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But I said past that point, I've realized that it is what people say. What I grew up realizing, that it's the connections in my life that keep me happy. It's not the things I've bought or the things I have. And these guys will be like, "Oh, shut up."
You can say that just like, because you have stuff.
Yeah, they're like, you're going to tell me what to do with my money. I'm like, no, I'm not telling you. I'm saying what I'm doing with my money. Like, this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it with your money. I'm saying that, like, this is, I find the people I've met, this is what I'm reporting back. The people who have all the things, they got to tell you they have all the things, because that's the only joy they're going to get from it, is from showing it to other people.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, for me, like, the people and the men who I look up to and love, their focuses on life aren't things that they can shine on the internet, because it's not material. It's like, it's really difficult to explain to a man, like, I love my partner and now I feel secure and less anxious. And that comes from time and commitment and investment emotionally. It's easier for me to go, I just bought this massive car. And they're like, yes. And also, again, we're sold a dream as young boys, right? That if you work hard, you get somewhere. Now more than ever, and I'm sure this is not specific to the UK.
No,
that dream is done.
It's done. Yeah.
Hard work does not equal security.
No, not at all.
Like, and so that's difficult to comprehend as a young person, to realize that everything you've been told is a lie. And you have to confront the reality that you're better off learning how to be okay within yourself. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that, because the damage, the pain's already there. It's easier to distract from it and work 150 hours a week than go, if I sit still for a day, like, what do I feel?
Oof. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I can imagine. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, but you're making me think, which wasn't the plan. I was just going to ask some questions. Now, another thing that I wanted to ask you about, because you write about it as well. Your rise to fame, or I don't know how to call it, actually happened really fast.
Really fast.
Can you explain a bit for the people who don't know, and then also explain what that's like? Because I don't know if I don't want to make it too much about myself, but I had sort of a similar experience where one of my first thing that I did publicly was write an open letter that went viral, and so I was sort of like bombarded into a certain role as well, and so I recognized a lot of, because it's a jarring thing. It was a jarring thing to me. So explain a bit about your journey.
Well, losing anonymity is a big loss as well. That's a massive grief to confront. A lot of people, I think, you see people who are famous, celebrities, but they're known maybe for something else, actors, authors. They seem disgruntled. They seem affected by the fact that people are looking at them, because it's not a wanted. There is also a new brand of people that just like to just have the likes and the attention, and sure. But there are some that where it's slightly jarring. And I actually did, even though I was young and smiley and ambitious, my mum had raised me to believe that I wanted to be successful, not famous. Famous is a side effect of success. And so, so just to explain, I was about 19 years old. Me and my friend Harley had been in this duo for just over a year, Rizzle Kicks. And we would put like these little mixtapes, and I'd run around Brighton, where I was living at the time, giving out like demos to labels, all the normal stuff from that time.
Yeah.
I met a guy at my friend's house. He makes music videos. We shot a music video for a song that had been online for 9 months, 10 months. We shot this video, and then suddenly it all made sense to people because they could see us. So then we got these record labels asking, you know, what's the plan, offering, relative to my life, a crazy amount of money. Like my mum was on, I don't know what it would be called here, but benefits, like welfare.
I think everybody understands.
Yeah. So like, and Harley's mum, he was okay. His mum was doing better than my mum, but like, you know, we weren't like lavish kids.
Yeah.
And then the crazier moment is we get signed, we make some music, normal. We go into the introducing stage on radio, which is BBC introducing, but weirdly, and this is a I don't know if people are like religious or spiritual, but the serendipity happened that my godfather is a photographer, and he was taking a picture of a Radio 1 DJ, right, and played one of our songs during the shoot. And the Radio 1 DJ says, "Who's this?" And he went, "Well, it's funny you ask. That's my godson. And he's just got signed to this record label." And then this DJ, who's called Fern Cotton, she said, send the song over to my producer and we'll see what we can do. She made it what was called Song of the Week on Radio 1 in 2011, July 2011. We were in the charts at 144, which, by the way, blew our minds. That we were even in the charts. I could not believe they were in the charts. But by the end of the month, we were number 8. And we stayed number 8 for like 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
And my walk, when we were living in a house share at the time, me and 3 other boys, it was absolute hell on earth. And my walk to the cafe in that month changed. And I had no way, you know, no one in my family was famous. Like I didn't know what that experience would be like. But where I grew up as a boy, if someone looks at you, it's normally danger. Like if someone stares at you, especially men, it's like an issue.
Yeah.
So that immediate attention was really overwhelming. And I was, again, 19 years old. And then what then happens, which is probably quite predictable, is what would you do as a 20-year-old boy with attention, money, super sensitive, and I had a history of feeling a little bit like out of place in the world.
Of course, only healthy things.
And I went into a serious amount of chaos, and took loads of drugs and had loads of sex, and you know, I was very hedonistic, and there was some real fun times for sure. But the compromise was I wasn't able to build any worthy intimate relationships really, and so I had to make a change. And
you did.
Yeah.
And you described the whole messy journey.
I described the messy journey, but also I wouldn't. The thing is, people ask me, you know, if your kid was going to be famous young, what would you say? And I often would say I would recommend they don't.
Exactly.
I really would. I don't think it works. I think there's a reason why all the tragic stories of young people is because they've been exposed. Sorry, famous people. Yeah. Often a young person who's been exposed at a time where they don't really understand themselves so much. They're not grounded. Exactly. So then you get hit with this, you know, this influx of attention, and you know, I really didn't think I'd last, you know.
No, but you did. And well, not to like it's kind of crazy that you did. Yeah. And that you came out of it. What would you say has been like the defining factor that made sure that you made it through that chaos?
I don't know. It's a great question. Well, this heartbreak really in the book was the pivotal moment in my entire life of, I think, going from a boy to a man. That's what I believe. Yeah. And once I had gone through that pain, my perspective on life was just massively different. Okay. And as I say in the book, the heartbreak was a heartbreak. Sure, it's painful, but because I'd been running away from feeling any kind of pain for maybe 10 years, once that door was open from the heartbreak, I ended up feeling pain for other things that I'd experienced. Quite immediately, I was grieving the loss of my grandmothers, which had happened, and I just rationalized it. I was like, they were old, they were going to die. That's what happens, it's life. But actually, a part of me was, of course, devastated to lose,
Yeah.
2 women who helped me feel really safe. So I had to process that. I'd lost someone to suicide who was really close to me. And again, I was on tour at the time, so I was just full steam ahead, trying to not to think about it. So all of this stuff hit me at the same time. And out the other side was, I maintained sobriety. I haven't drunk alcohol for like 8 years. And I knew that was for me the root of the self-destruction. I think I could drink now, but it's been so long now that I don't.
Yeah, well,
But now,
why go back?
but I think that was what kept me stable, was confronting the pain rather than trying to find ways to, squash it down.
Yeah, and I think that squashing it down is it's a human thing to do, but it's also something that's maybe expected of men often.
Yeah, massively.
I see that. Like, for example, when I go through something, I have my girlfriends, and we will talk until like every little detail of every little feeling has been discussed. And I see that the men around me, they look at that and they're like, we don't do that. So do you think that your being a man had something to do with that?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, I've been raised by a man who was raised by a man who was raised by a man who didn't believe in showing emotion in that way.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because I think men being in a circle, especially, is like that most ancient feeling of connect. The idea that men processing emotion together. I think we do somewhere in the back of our minds. We're okay with that space, but it's really difficult to remodel it when we've not seen it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It ultimately, again, it can be immediate family, but it is also TV, film, like music. It's changing slowly, but like if there's nothing to work off of, if you can't see the reward from it, then it's often ends up heady. Like that's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to feel uncomfortable. Or the other one, which is quite sad, a lot of my male friends don't want other people to feel sad, so they won't share the sadness because they think it's like an infection or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
Ra-
I recognize that.
Rather than a process of feeling held. But I want to tell one story which I wrote about recently, not in my book, but on my blog,
Please.
where this reality hit home for me because I was asked to do this weekend for a charity called A Band of Brothers. And they rehabilitate boys who have struggled in education or gone to prison, but juvenile prison. And they wanted me to go along to write about it and to see it firsthand. I'd already done an emotional trauma retreat, so a lot of the stuff they were doing wasn't new to me. But what was new to me was that it was only men. On the retreat I did before, it was mostly women, a couple of men. This was only men. And there was this exercise where all of us stood in a circle, all of us men, right? And the guy was called Conroy, who led it. And for full transparency, there are men that I would have seen in that space and I would have judged them because of my own ego. For silly things like what they were wearing or the way they were talking, or maybe they'd said something disparaging about someone and I was like that, I don't like that. Maybe I don't like them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So I had these feelings that I was holding, and then you'd be in this circle and then Conroy would say, step forward if you've lost a pet. And suddenly 4 or 5 men step forward, and then I'd step forward, and I'm connected to these men through grief. And it got more and more intense to the point of step forward if you've lost someone to suicide, step forward if you've lost both your parents. And I realized I'd been having all these assumptions of these people, and I knew nothing about them. And maybe somebody who I had judged as, someone I don't want to hang about with, might have been stepping forward for everything.
Oh.
You might have stepped forward for lost a dog and a parent and a friend and a child and just every fucking thing.
Yeah.
And then you have to go, okay, well, it would be great if they were kinder, but I can kind of understand where they're at. And I also just burst into tears, even though I knew this. Just the fact that I was in a group of people who had experienced grief to a level that I had experienced it, and more. Not that you really compare, but
no, but I know what you mean.
It just was powerful. It really was, and there was no questioning. There was no, this doesn't feel good, or we shouldn't be crying. Like everybody knew exactly what was happening, and how powerful it was. And so that whole idea of being in a circle It's not by chance. That, you know, we do that for recovery, drug addiction, therapy, group therapy. It's always
In a
facing
circle.
in.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
It is. Wow. I can imagine that would like stay with you.
Well, it's what I've learned the most, and this is what I keep running around telling everyone, especially men, is that I was taught how to feel. This is, I think some people assume it's an intrinsic thing. You learn through experience, go through relationship after relationship, and then you'll find your way. Not for me. I was literally taught how to be a better partner, what partnership looks and feels like, how emotions show up in my body, what things to notice if I'm unaware of, you know. So it might not be an emotion, it might be a defense to a certain emotion, it might be. So all of these things I learned, and then I created my own little roadmap, and now I feel a little bit better about my life. We don't have that as a. It seems in society we think it's a luxury, or men will even. One guy who's really loud. I don't know. Do you guys know Piers Morgan? Do you know that guy?
Yes, I know Piers Morgan.
All right. So he was on UK television 2 weeks ago, and he said on telly that he hasn't cried for 12 years.
Yeah.
Right? And we were like, yeah, we know. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, boss, that's
like,
not I don't know if you were trying to shock us. It's not a shock. We can tell, bro.
No, and also
like
you might need a good cry.
Yes, it's stored in you. You can see it in his stare. I don't mean
Yeah.
to be like, you know, but you can see it in his eyes, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's there's just this, yeah, I'm sure he's just getting on with life.
Yeah.
And the price you pay for not accessing this point is you never access that point. So there's no surprise to me that he's moaning the whole time. Because
no, exactly.
But men do understand it, because there is a whole thing to do with cold plunges, right? It's the same concept.
Yeah.
Like, you know, as a man, you're going into a space to shock your body into discomfort, because when you get out of the cold plunge, you get given endorphins. It's the same fucking thing. You sit in the feeling, you sit in the emotion. It might be with your boys, your guys, whatever, and it's, oh, this is a lot. And then if you let it happen, then boom, what's the reward? You're more connected, you're more bonded. You've started to develop real trust.
Yeah.
Even the most toxic guys, right, who run around on the internet talking about being big and alpha and whatever, their closest friend in their life saw them at their lowest. Facts.
Yes.
The people they trust saw them, even if they don't want to talk about it ever again, they saw it. Because that's what breeds connection, is vulnerability.
Exactly. That's so interesting the way that you describe that, because
like Andrew Tate, for example. Sorry, I shouldn't say it, but
no, please.
he spends every day with his brother.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say. Just every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, even somebody who runs around talking about not having connections, his whole life is hinged on one single connection.
True.
If him and his brother got separated,
that would be a problem.
You'll see.
Perhaps he'll cry then, which could lead to good things.
You'll see.
Wow, yeah. No, I'm thinking about like as you're explaining this, it makes perfect sense. But I'm thinking about how that doesn't feel like it happens the same way for women. To me, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like
the emotion.
Yeah, I feel like we are more encouraged our whole life to talk about emotions, or at least with our, with our sisterhood or with our friend there. And there's a lot of books, and we've already grown past that, the pushing down in ways, I think.
Yeah, and also I guess there'll be like a hormonal difference.
Probably.
I'm guessing, and then the other thing, which obviously I can't really say. I mean, you can tell me if this is wrong or not, but I feel like pain, like emotional and actually physical pain, is just seen as part of the female experience.
That's also true, yeah.
So that might seem like a negative thing, but actually I believe it leads to a greater level of connection to other people who've experienced that. Like, you'll know from the women around you that you've probably,
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas guys, like, we literally can run away from pain. This is even what I think is considered to be the privilege, which I don't think is a privilege at all. So we can run away from pain for like decades.
That's not good. That's not a privilege, no.
Like decades. That's where you see people that like they'll get into relationships with like a 40-year-old guy, and it's just like a teenager. because they've not processed any of the grief they've experienced. They just kept, and we've glamorized it all: drinking, drugs, bachelor. Like all of it is glamorized. It's all of us, all the people we look up to are all fucking awful. You know?
It's weird, huh?
So there's nothing to hone it in, right? So then you end up like, why is my husband acting like a kid? Because he's a kid.
Yeah. This explains what noise.
No, but like I don't, you know, and like listen, again, there's always a healthy balance. I'm not expecting everyone to be like really ardent adults. You know, you have to be playful and whatever else.
Yeah,
but
of course.
maturity, like you see it in Animal Kingdom, you see it everywhere. Like it comes from pain, from breaking, from shedding skin, from breaking shells, from like it always has to be like ancient cultures would have an initiation.
Yeah.
Like a boy would have to fight someone or fight something, and then they're a man. And it might not be as palatable now. You know, we might find a different way. But the nearest I've known is like guys drinking so much they can't stand up. That's like the nearest we have to initiation in Western culture.
Yeah.
Like, how much can you drink? No, you're a man.
That's strange, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to find new rituals and
Just understanding that pain is what helps you grow.
Yeah. You said earlier, you referenced that you were raised by a man who was raised by a man. One of the things that struck me in your book is how you write about your parents, because you actually you write about them quite honestly.
Yeah.
And quite, you know, like they you get all the flaws as well.
Yes.
And that was something that I have always found very difficult to do.
So I just saw the little cute waves over there. It was quite funny.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll turn it over to you guys in a few minutes.
No, they got a scoot.
Oh,
no questions from you.
They're waving goodbye.
Boo! I'm joking.
Boo.
No, I'm genuinely joking. I'm so grateful that even this amount of people is. I'm like, can't believe people are even here.
No, but.
So yeah, my parents. My parents.
like what was that like, and what was the response?
So I had to tell my parents. I said to them, look, guys. I said I'm going to be very honest about some specific moments because I want this book to live beyond me. Right? This is I have to have that dream. Whether it will be a dream or not is another thing. But I want to write a book that can live way beyond my life. So I wanted to limit how much I limited myself because of people immediately there. So I sat down with my mum and dad respectively and said, do you mind if I say this stuff, because it might help someone. It might really help someone, like a new mum, a new dad, someone who's had complicated relationship with their mum and dad, and they were both cool. I mean, my dad kicked up a little bit of a fuss, but my mum was massively supportive. And you know, as you know from reading the book, like I'm very open about the relationship with my mum, and the main issue with my mum was her letting me go, you know, her letting me be a man rather than a boy, which is something, again, we're not instructed. There's no guidelines of how infantilizing that can be. My mum wants the best for me, but there's a point where she has to, you know, let me want the best for myself. Yeah. So it was really, really important to me that I was honest about them, because everyone's trying their best, man. Like everyone is really doing their best job, but that shouldn't mean that we can't review what's going on and ask questions. That's really it. That's
true. And I think you do it in a way that is both really honest and you know, but you can also feel the love that lingers through.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think I went easy on my dad, to be honest. like
okay.
I think my dad, with my dad is you might not think I went easy on my dad, because I am pretty hardcore about not wanting to make the same mistakes as him. That's my clarity, and being frustrated that I have to drag these fucking stories out of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know he's got a good heart. I think he's an idiot, but I know I know he's got a good heart, and I do love him, you know, and I know he wants the best for me.
Yeah.
My mum, like, again, she is loving to a fault, which is fascinating. Like, what does that even mean? How can you love someone or something too much? Well, this is why I want to talk about it. The importance of breaking up. I literally say in the book, I'm breaking up with my mum. That was like one of the things I had to do, was say, listen, we need to shift how this is working. You know, I need my own space, my own time. and it was really painful, and then it was the best thing for our relationship ever.
Nice.
So yeah, I think, yeah, I wouldn't have been like massively more on my dad, but it's tough. It's an ongoing journey, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But usually, what I say in the book is usually people wait until they're a lot older.
Yeah,
they
or,
can look
or until their parents
until
aren't
they're
here anymore.
until they're not there. Yeah. So for them, they had to experience this while alive.
Wow. What? No, really. That's
I actually
something that-
apologize. I say like they must have really been annoyed that they made a kid who just stands there going like, "Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that?"
Well, my parents kind of got the same kid.
Yeah.
And I waited. In my new book, I write something that isn't even critical, but that's like emotionally very honest about my relationship to my mom. And I waited until now because she has Alzheimer's, so now she doesn't. But
Oh,
she's
wow.
good. She's good. It's a beautiful, sort of a weird, beautiful,
Yeah.
long goodbye or something.
Mm.
But I had to wait until I knew she wouldn't get that anymore. That's
Wow.
how fragile I
which
feel
is
like
which
these
is a
things are.
thing. That's a thing. Some people, some people wouldn't do that. Yeah, for real. But
No, but I love that you did. It was really like inspirational. And
I think
hope-
for mums and boys,
yeah.
I think that's a really, like, again, in the UK specifically, but I'm maybe guessing here too, it's a specific challenge because there's so many studies about what happens in the absence of not father not being there.
Mm.
My dad was around.
Yeah.
He didn't disappear, but it was mainly me and my mum. And so I felt again like a duty to explain what comes with that as a complication, because we're more than willing to say good on you for raising this child, as you should, commend and support and uplift and praise, like 100%. I also think it would be dishonest and actually unfair to not just look at the consequences of that as well,
Yeah.
and how to avoid those becoming like lifelong issues.
But it's gonna help a lot of people because, like I said, I read it as a mom, and I have 3 children,
Mm.
one son and then 2 daughters, and it's so crazy. I never thought before I had these kids that there would be such a big difference in the way you view them. I never thought gender would become like this defining factor in parenting, but it is.
Yeah.
And I do feel like I have to remind myself sometimes that my son is not a baby anymore, that he can do things. Like, I find it more difficult, and
Yeah.
he's the oldest.
Yeah.
So it's weird. There is
I
something
bet.
there. Yeah.
I bet. I don't know what that feels like yet.
No. It is difficult.
Yeah, I bet.
The
That's what I
letting
mean.
go, I think, is the worst. I'm gonna look. Are the moms in the room like letting go of the kids and of?
It's literally the empty nest syndrome is literally a medical condition.
Well,
Actually,
so that's why books like yours are great. So I can like prepare myself already. Like be sure that
yeah, of course.
that I examine those things, especially that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't for one second think that it's an easy thing to do.
No, but
all.
I love that you write about it.
To give an example, just a little example, which I do talk about in the book, how it can show up. What I mean by how it shows up later is, I think, from my personal experience and some boys around me or men around me, if we don't look and interrogate the relationship between the boy and the mum, specifically, the boy and the dad is a whole other thing, which obviously needs to be dealt with as well.
Yeah.
But because in a heterosexual context,
Yeah.
a boy at some point is going to be attracted to a woman, and then start this relationship. A lot of men, if they haven't dealt with that relationship with the mum or progressed past it, they end up destroying the relationships they're in because they subconsciously think that they are jeopardizing the connection with the mum.
Oh wow!
So this is something that I had to literally deal with myself. One of the handful of reasons why I kept destroying relationships was because a part of me was worried that I would lose.
Yeah, because she was your main.
I'd be pushing that person away at their expense. It'd be damaging my mum, which of course it didn't.
No. Oh,
But
that's
it's in the
such
back of your mind, because you're like, you want to protect your parents. Well, you shouldn't want to protect your parents, but I think sometimes you end up having to.
Yeah, and it's sort of a natural reflex
Yeah.
as a child.
Yeah, it's very complex. But look, it's there are many factors that make parenting difficult. Me and my mum didn't have much money. My mum had a very tough childhood herself.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
we're cool. She gets it. She's like very supportive of this kind of thing because she, like I said, she doesn't want people to, if someone can not be as if someone can struggle less than she did, then she'll be happy.
Oh, and what did she think of the book?
Yeah, she liked it. Honestly, she was but she couldn't. Well, firstly, she couldn't believe I wrote a book.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, because I've always written short things, songs, poems, but not a whole book. So she was really proud of me for that.
Impressed, yeah.
Yeah, and she
love that.
those particular sentences and stuff that she liked. Yeah,
That's
because
beautiful.
she's very creative.
Yeah, and also, I almost forgot, and it's a subtitle that's not a subtitle, but you have ADHD, and you've known about this.
Yeah.
You know? And I was, it's interesting how it's in the title, but like you said, the book isn't about that, but it's almost like you view, maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but like it's just a part of who you are. It's it's a system in which you move, but it doesn't seem like such a focus.
Yeah, so with ADHD, just to be quick, I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was like 16, 17. I didn't really care that they got diagnosed. I thought it wasn't that bothered. They tried to put me on medication and I didn't take it. I didn't like the therapy. I was allowed to stand up during my school exams. That was about it. And then I got diagnosed again when I was an adult for a TV show that I was doing. So I was about 25. They had to reevaluate my psych.
Yes, I get that.
And then they gave it to me again. And then they did give me medication, and I realized that actually some of my destructive behavior had been a self-medicating thing.
Yeah.
Like my cocaine problem wasn't actually at its worst when I was going out. It got at its worst when I was doing cocaine when I was staying in. And when I was staying in, I was doing loads of work. I mean, it's fucking shit work, but I would be like, people would come over close to me and I wouldn't even be hiding this shit. I'd be like, yeah, I did loads of coke and I wrote a script. What do you think? And I'd be like, oh, okay. And they read it. So it was all part of the same journey. Why am I being destructive? But I don't think that I'm a victim of anything with ADHD. I don't think that life's super difficult because of it. I just think that there are some parts of life I find harder than other people. And so I have to change my life to be able to accommodate that. And unfortunately, there are also some like structured parts of a city, of a job, of whatever, that also isn't very kind to ADHD. But I personally wouldn't say, in a serious manner anyway, I can't do this because I have ADHD. I would just be like, I might find this difficult, but I'll find a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just feel like that's probably for me the healthier approach. And if anyone is wondering if too many people think they have ADHD at the moment, my personal take on that is it's a very, very, very usual response to like a completely insane world and like amount of technology that like is just thrown into our face, and we're expected to that it's rational and sane and we can just manage it. I think a lot of people are developing ADHD, and also as we understand more of it, people are looking back and going, oh shit, I must have had that shit the whole time, right?
My husband got diagnosed a year ago. Literally his reaction.
Yeah.
Like, this explains so much.
Yes.
Like,
And that's all I think. That's what's important about it. Like, I'm not bothered about people who are diagnosing themselves being an issue. I think, obviously medication becomes tricky because there's loads of people asking for it. But for me, I've been Googling and YouTube and TikTok, just looking up like things like things to help me. Cleaning with ADHD, organizing a diary with ADHD, going on holiday with ADHD. And there's all these incredible people who just have these ideas. And then you think, wow, I never knew someone else also found that tough.
Yeah.
Like I learned literally last year or something about paralysis, ADHD paralysis, which is basically getting stuck between two decisions and just doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I literally would do that. Just as an example, I would never make it an issue. It was just part of my day, and it would stress me out, but I'd have to get on with it. So, for example, there was one day recently where I was going to the car, but I had left something in my bag, and I couldn't decide whether I had the 30 seconds to get the bag, or if I should just carry on with the momentum to the car. But instead, I just stood there doing nothing for like 7 minutes. I was just stood there going... but because I knew that online and there's more understanding of ADHD, I didn't feel like ashamed of that. I was like, that's beautiful. Yeah, that was really hard, and I'm gonna try not to do that next time. But it's like, it's not like, I'm not alone in that kind of difficulty.
No, and as because you know of the I've been researching a lot about ADHD, and one of the things that because I think I'm neurotypical.
Yeah.
I never got diagnosed for anything, but one of the things that I found interesting is what we consider to be like the norm.
I know.
Because that's just like, if you look at it, that's just a brain that can function within capitalism.
Yeah, right.
That's true. That's what neurotypical is.
Yes.
Like you can do all these crazy things that we expect of you because so maybe the system should just change and then the labels get a little easier.
it's I mean there's that for sure. I think for us to meet in the middle, I think capitalism requires a level of organization with every person. And it is of my belief, I'm sure they're still changing their minds about this stuff, but ultimately ADHD is when our brain has an underfiring of neurons to the executive functioning part of the brain, which basically organizes, which is why some people who don't have ADHD are confused by the fact that one of the medicines is speed.
Yeah.
Because or methylphenidate is the technical term.
Yeah.
But like, they think, why you, the most hyperactive person I've ever met, why are they giving you speed? That sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But it's because that extra speed hits the executive functioning part, and then we slow down.
Yeah.
So actually, there's some people, you know, again, this is far away from my life now, but I'm aware people do use drugs.
Yeah.
But like, I know young people will be going out doing a bunch of cocaine, stuff like that. And in that group of people who do cocaine, there'll be one person who was previously really loud, and then they go silent. That person has ADHD.
Wow.
Yeah. Like genuinely. Because the fucking drugs have hit the
right spot.
Yeah. And then they're going, what am I doing tomorrow? Let me plan my day.
Let me function very well.
Or they'll focus like purely on But like it's and I found that relieving. That's why I did, you know, with cocaine I found it like all these voices suddenly got quieter. Okay. And then it was obviously a medical doctor who was like, there's other things that can help you do that don't cost 300 fucking pounds and also are mixed with like rat poison.
Yes. Well, thank God you found that out.
Thank God I found a regulated substance that could help me, which I'm on and off, by the way. But I mean, like, you know, it's funny because my girlfriend, I think, is also maybe not neurotypical, but her brain is really not like that. She loves organization.
Okay.
So she and she gets distressed if someone messes with the organization. Oh, yeah. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but that's also interesting. So there's parts of life where she excels in parts where I really don't, and I like to think we play off each other.
That's nice. Like puzzle pieces. Yeah.
Yes, I can start things back up again.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go. And then I'll go, what are we doing? She goes, this is what we're doing. All right, great. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a healthy dynamic. We don't have a lot of time left.
We should ask.
Yeah. We should look at the room. Are there any questions? There's someone right there.
Oh, hello.
Hi. I don't know if we have a mic, but if you can just talk loudly, I'll hear you.
Someone's waving an orange box.
Oh, okay. There's an orange box which I think is a mic.
Like
yes.
Is it a mic or is it just like a spirit? Is it like a
stick
psychological thing to be like you can't talk unless you're holding it?
No, it is really a mic, I think. But they should throw it all the way in the front.
Can you not throw it? It looks like it's throwable.
The throwing is stressful, I think. It's okay. All the way in front here. Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Just stop.
Wow, it does. It makes a noise.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, but now I feel pressure. I'm stressed.
Don't be stressed.
I had a lot of questions, but myself, I have also ADHD.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But thanks for the, inspiring conversation.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
I forgot everything I wanted to say.
Oh no!
Well, but the anecdotes about the speed. The first time I tried speed, I was like,
see?
Oh,
calm.
wow.
Yeah.
You were calm.
And also, thanks for the tips about the book, because I'm also like thinking a lot about not being able to write.
Yeah, just write.
Yeah, gewoon.
Just do it.
Thanks.
Screw the rules.
Yes.
That's so weird.
Yeah. There's someone
Throw
behind
it.
you.
Yeah,
actually
someone behind you, right behind you. Ansel?
You can throw it, I think. I think that's the fun part. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
You were talking about like your emotional opening up to yourself and to vulnerability.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just amazed that there's so many people here. It's really cool.
I notice with myself, with my male friends, that it's often like I want to open up emotionally, but you often come to persons who are not ready for that. I can imagine if you're like successful, you also come along other people in music, for example, who are still in the kind of rat race thing you explained. So you talked a lot about like how you dealt with this yourself, but how is it for you like interacting with others who are not in that stage?
Yeah, so
That's a good question.
a great question, by the way. It is hard. Like I won't pretend it's not. You'll know. I can gather from how you're saying it. There'll be many occasions where boys or men will want to meet up. Obviously, with my guy mates, you know, sometimes it's around football. Football's a great unifier. But then, does anybody really want to talk about like how shit their week was before a football match? Probably not. A lot of men get like really affected by football, which I vow to not do anymore. But what I found is over time, if I do make one little reach out, even if it doesn't work, I do think that like I'll give you an example. Say we're in a group of like 6 people, right? And let's say you actually have something on your mind that you want to talk about, and maybe it's a confusion about something in a relationship or whatever, and you say, yo guys, I know that we're like mucking around or whatever, but can I run this by you because I had this weird situation with my partner last week, right? And then the guys might be like, fucking da, 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 and then it's all jokes, and then you get rinsed, and then you're there going, oh, and then whatever, right? That might be disheartening, but there's a chance that one of the guys will message like a day later, 2 days later, and say, yo, it's a bit annoying these guys were laughing because actually I got a similar thing, and then boom, that's like a stepping stone, do you know what I mean? And then maybe it won't be the first time, maybe it's the second time, but either way, my point is, I believe that is the bravest thing that a human can do, especially a man, is be prepared to offer out a hand, and then if it isn't taken, it doesn't close. You don't just close. You go, okay, it's not to do with me. It's definitely not to do with you, is it? It's not like if someone can't have their heart open back, that's not on you, you know? So it's tough and it's difficult, but I really think it's just being brave enough to ask the question. You'll be surprised. Sometimes, you know, a little later, they come around, you know? So that's how it's happened for me. I know the friends now who I would go to because they too have been through a journey, and I know that I can speak to them. And then also, you know, I don't only have guy friends. I've got a lot of girl mates who are great, and it does come on naturally, to be honest. But that's also just a good thing. I really am a big believer in platonic, differing gender relationships.
Yeah, I have a few best male
Phil.
friends. Yeah.
Thank you, though. Great question.
I think we have time for one more question. So if anyone else wants, there's one person.
We should do 2.
Oh, we can do 2. Okay.
Let's do 2.
Okay. Yeah. The
'Cause I'm in Belgium, man. What the fuck?
They'll have to chase us after this thing.
Yeah. Well, I can talk after actually because we've got a sign in. We can talk after.
Yes.
Yeah, one there
Go
and
ahead.
one there. Is that right?
No, you can start. You can start.
My question for you is, someone who just not realized, but got the diagnosis of ADHD and like got the feeling of, it's a hard to describe feeling, but it's not a happy one.
Yeah.
Of the past that he's been living.
Yeah, of course.
That didn't suit by the person, me.
Yeah.
What would you say to people that just like got
diagnosed?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've heard this before. Yeah, you're feeling grief, man. Like that's totally normal. Like I think I would guess, I'm not like qualified to say this properly, but I would guess from my own experience that you're having to re-examine, you know, things and wish you could have known something sooner, and that's painful. Like I say, like we were talking earlier about becoming famous. To some people might be like, this is great, but I've lost in my life. I can't be hidden anymore, and that's a grief. I've lost that old version of myself. So I think you've lost a previous version of yourself, and you're grieving that person, and that's absolutely normal. It's very normal. And the more you feel it, what does my friend say? If you're feeling, you're healing. There we are.
If you're feeling, you're healing. I love that. Okay, throw it. Yeah. So this is gonna be the last question, but you shouldn't be too sad because Jordan will be signing books after this, and so you can just ask him questions directly.
Yeah.
At the
And I've
book
literally got nothing else to do. I'm in Belgium. Okay, let me know. I'll see you at the book stand.
Thank you so much for an amazing conversation.
Thank you for being here.
There is a lot of talk nowadays about positive masculinity, and there's also a lot of critiques on it because it kind of reinforces the idea that you have to brand human qualities as masculine to have them be like allowed for boys and men. And I was really wondering how you feel about that conundrum. Do you think positive masculinity is part of the problem, part of the solution, somewhere in between?
What a question.
That's a great final question.
I love that.
Yes.
Look, man, I'll be real. Like, so my philosophy, again, this is just mine. I don't think it's gospel. Masculinity is a beautiful energy. I love masculinity. I love it in myself. I love how it shows up in its true sense. What's obviously happened is there are expressions of what I think is like machoism, hypermasculinity, expressions more towards the capitalist system that are damaging to people that end up getting hooked up with the masculinity. I think that masculinity and femininity are energies that every single human being should try and balance to a degree, I do notice in partnerships, for example, that there's probably a slight offset, which I find cool. And that doesn't, again, that's not just heteronormative couples. Gay couples, I see it all the time. One might be louder, other one might be quiet, one dominant, one submissive, one might be outgoing, one might be introvert. Like, it's just life, balance, yin yang. Like, it feels like almost a scientific outlook on life. So with that in mind, I think expressions of masculinity are important, to every human being. And the issue for me with men isn't necessarily like, I don't like the phrase positive masculinity, because I think masculinity is positive. Yeah. I really do. I genuinely believe that. The issue for men, from my perspective, is the fact that we demonize femininity. We demonize expressions of femininity, however we want to experience it. I think it's more towards openness. I feel like masculinity is more protective. Again, this is just me saying this. And so, as you can see in life, there are many examples of, I think, women who have adopted the masculine energy or can express their masculinity, and it's championed because it's often in, leadership or sports, or, you know what I mean? Boss lady, right? But whereas the reverse, I think we're way behind, A straight guy expressing femininity, you're instantly, your sexuality is questioned, your stability is questioned. You're like, it's odd, it's wild to me. So, it's always going to be messy because people think the terms themselves, masculine and feminine, are too abstract. But for me, if I'm trying to be very clear, it's about opening and closing the heart. Have to have a heart open to connect to people, and sometimes you got to close your heart to protect yourself. Those are the two energies for me, and every human being has to learn how to fluidly do that, how to open and close the heart. You leave your heart too open, and it hurts. Trust. You leave it closed, you never connect. So you got to learn how to open and close, masculine and feminine. That's my belief, anyway. So
that's
yeah. Thank you,
Jordan Stevens, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much
Thank you
for
so
being
much.
here. And go and buy and read the book and have it signed by Jordan.
Thank you so much as well. I really appreciate it.